Stuka Joe here. Today we will be unboxing this game, Tactical Commander. This is a game designed by Álvaro Luis, Crisanto Lorente, and José Luengo to be published by Trafalgar Editions through a Kickstarter campaign that begins on November 25th. This is a two-player tactical game of World War II combat. It includes a map board, counters, also cards for each side. Complexity is medium. Solitaire suitability is also medium. Here we see the information about the game. 1 hour per game turn. Infantry platoons, companies, and artillery batteries, as well as individual vehicles. And playing time is 1 hour or more. The box is a standard 2-inch box. We see that it has this landscape orientation in the front and portrait in the back. So let's remove the shrink wrap. Okay, we've removed the shrink wrap. We see the box, pretty sturdy box. So here we have a rule book in Spanish, Reglamento, and we have a rule book also in English. There's 1, 2, 3 decks of cards, and there's an additional smaller deck of cards here. We will be taking the shrink off those pretty soon. We have a bag with 4 D6s, 2 black, 2 red. And then we have here these player aids. Here we see the first of 3 counter sheets. We can see that in this game there are companies. You see German companies, the first company. Then each company can be divided into what the game calls sections, which would be the equivalent of platoons. So you would have the first section of the second section and the third section of the first company. And each section is represented by a card in the game. And you place status markers on the card. So what goes on the board is simply this company marker and maybe some combat effect marker on the unit counter that goes on the board. Here we have the second company with its 3 sections, third company here, and then there's an optional fourth or reserve company. If you're playing with that optional rule, each side will have a reserve, a fourth company, that it's placed in the rear area of the deployment area. Here we have the same units for the Soviets. Here we have movement markers for units that are not on the front. You can call units from the rear of the line to come to the front. Some units take 2 movement phases to get there. So units that take 2 movement phases, you place this double M marker. The back of that marker will have 1 M, meaning that another movement phase has to be expended for the unit to arrive. Here we have disruption markers. These are disruption 2 markers. APCR out markers. So this is a special armor-piercing ammunition that some units have, and when it's out, you place that marker. You got the entrenchment, building an entrenchment marker. Some units have an ability to be concealed or hidden, so you place that in their card. On their card, here we have a close combat marker. Units that have broke or that are demoralized, you place that. Here we have some markers for specific leaders. And we have here in markers. I suppose these are if you are inside a building or not sure of that. These are special unit markers. Some units that are going to be designated as SS units, you place these markers on their card so you can distinguish between regular units and special units. You have guard units here, and here you have the company markers that are placed on the card so that you know to which company and what section of that company the card belongs to. So you have there for both sides. And when we flip these to the back, you're going to have, for example, the movement markers now just show 1 M. Disruption is now 1 instead of 2. Some units are commandos, so you place this on their card to distinguish them. Here are effects on armored fighting vehicles. The gun is broken, they're immobilized. And we have other markers here. Some units are so small that you have to execute a recon action in order to be able to establish a line of sight to them. Here are units that are disengaging from close combat. This is smoke. And you have here more special units, elite units, veterans. These are elite Soviets. These, I believe, are partisan units. There's also partisans in the game. And here you have the backs of the company and section markers that go on the cards. Here we have a second counter sheet. Here we see like the stone buildings and the effect on combat, +3. You have some pillboxes and other types of fortifications there. These are concealment markers. Not sure how those work. We have a wall. And here we see more terrain markers. And as stated before, the terrain in this game are these markers that you place on the map. And the scenarios are fully customizable. Minefield, and we have rivers and swamp. So let's turn this to its back side. Now you can see, for example, that you have wooden buildings there, +2. You have some buildings that provide just a +1. Not sure what these ones are. Could be, I don't know, some rocks or something like that. More pillboxes, minefields. So here we see more terrain, these obstacles. And you have the swamp and river tiles. And here we have our third and last counter sheet. There is a log table here. Here you take this out and you keep track of the turns, also the command points that you have, as well as other game information like victory points. This is where you keep track of that. So here you have, for example, supplies. Also are kept track there. You need supplies for certain actions. And here you have spotting rounds for artillery and the direction where the artillery may fall. You use these markers. So I believe these are lights, night lights, or the ones that you use at night. So search for troops. And here you have the woods hexes that you place on the boards to create woods. That's our sheet from the front. Now we take a look at the back. And here we have, I believe this is brush terrain. We have some hills here. You have here the marker with the direction for the artillery fire, where it's going to go. And this is what you use when you're calling for artillery. You place a marker to see from there where it would finally land. And here you have the same markers for supply, but with a +22, in case you surpass that amount. Also, it includes these player aids and these handy cards. They're printed on both sides. Here you have the close combat table, rules for commandos, aviation return table, terrain table, AP ammunition. Here you have vehicle immobilization. You have to correct that. It's a B there. Infantry versus vehicles, combat versus bunkers, infantry, close combat versus bunkers, vehicles versus infantry, artillery and observers, and reconnaissance units. And here are the cards. It's basically action cards, which you can play, and also you have the unit cards. And the game brought 2 decks of unit cards, 1 for each side, and a smaller extra deck for the Germans here. So let's take a look, for example, at the German deck. Here we have a typical infantry unit, and you have the value of the unit. Each company, I believe, is composed of cards with a value of up to 8. So you have to pick cards, units that do not go over 8 to form companies. And this is the amount of supplies that the unit will consume in order to be activated. If the unit is not at the front and it is called to be brought to the front, this is the number of turns that it will take by marching on its own, 2 turns. If it comes in a half track, it takes 1 turn. And if you have a lorry to spend or to use, then it doesn't spend any time in arriving. And this is the movement allowance here on the tactical map, up to 2 hexes. This is the value here. Combat against infantry units, that is 6 if at full strength, 3 at reduced strength, and versus vehicles, 3 at full strength, 2 at reduced strength. The shield and the number there is the defense, and then the special ability is their concealment that you see the unit here at the bottom. So you're going to have a lot of these infantry units. Here we see, for example, an 81 millimeter mortar unit. I think the 4 that you see here, this is the range. 0 means it doesn't take any time to call it up to the front. And then you see on the left-hand side here, you see these shapes. These are types of fire that will cause this unit to be disrupted. If you get a disruption result and the unit, the target unit, matches the firing unit's symbol, this unit will be disrupted. For example, this unit has this yellow pentagon. So when it fires on Russian units, if the Russian unit has the yellow pentagon here and a disruption result is obtained, that unit will be disrupted. Certain units will not be disrupted by certain types of fire. So we have here this mortar unit. Here we have a machine gun, a 7.92 millimeter machine gun, 34. So you see there, its ratings there. It has the disruption is a white circle there. So this game is modular in the sense that you can create your own units. It's going to be a battalion versus another battalion, but you create the units that compose the battalion, and you do that face down, and you reveal it before you play. You start playing, then you reveal the units that you have, and in the front at the front lines. So it has a lot of customization because there's a lot of different types of units. Here we see this is an anti-tank 37 millimeter unit. We have a 50 millimeter anti-tank unit, 75 millimeter. Here we have a lorry unit. You can transport units here in these lorries. 1, 2, 3, 105 millimeter artillery here, 150 millimeter. We have 75 millimeter. The Kübelwagen is one of those recon units you can use to try to spot certain units that are smaller. Motorcycle also has a recon ability. The recon patrol. Here you have the SDKFZ 251 half track. Another one of those. Here we have the SDKFZ 222 armored car with recon ability. We have some flak units here. These can fire at the aircraft. There's going to be aircraft cards in the game also. Here we have a Fiesler Stork. And this serves also for recon purposes. The headquarter battalion. You're going to have always a battalion unit present. Here we have the Panzer IV-G. And you can see here the types of armor that the unit has. This unit will withstand the armor units that fire these types of ammo. So it's represented, it's distilled in that picture. You see that it fires here. This particular unit, the 8, is the morale of the unit, that 8 that you see here. You're going to be rolling for morale for a lot of things, and that depiction there is its armor piercing capacity of 3. So, and this is the armor, it will withstand 2, 3s, and 4s. It won't withstand a 1. So, here we see another one. Here we have a 5, a Panther. And this one has an armor piercing of 4. Panzer 3J, Marder 2C, Stug 3E, another Stug. And you see here this number, 7 number, that is the APCR, Special Armor Piercing Ammunition. But every time you fire that, there's a chance it's going to be depleted. I believe it, if you roll with 2d6s 8 or higher, it's depleted, and then you place that depleted marker. Here we have the Tiger tank, Stug 3G. These are observer units. Have a pack, a flak here. This is 88 millimeter flak. You can see it has a very strong anti-armor attack of 14. Another half track here. Lorries. And you have the Stuka here. And this is supposed to be 1943. So these are weapons that were available 1943. This is the N type, the 3N. The Stug 3F. The Marder 2D. And this is, looks like an assault gun. Panzerjäger, well, it's a tank destroyer. Panzerjäger 1B. We have a half track here. The KFZ-72 Pioneer unit. See, they have some special anti-tank capabilities. Must be carrying Panzerschrecks and stuff like that. Here we have the aviation attack. This is more like an event where you can try to damage armored units. It would cause a damage of 3 on infantry units and 2 on armored units. Here we have another effect here. This is the communications lost card. And here this allows you to steal extra cards and go over your hand size. There's an extra set of German cards, which I tried to find in the rules. What are these about? Because they have the Spanish flag. Maybe they are the Blue Division or something like that. But we have infantry there. We have the mortar, 81 millimeter. We have the machine gun, very similar to the ones we saw before. Headquarter battalion. The sappers. Observers, the 105 millimeter gun, the 150 millimeter gun. Here we have the 37 millimeter anti-tank gun, and we have 2 Opel Blitz lorries. And the game will come in English and Spanish. Here we have the rulebook in Spanish and the rulebook in English. It will be in full color. So actual rules are about 16 pages long. I saw 2 scenarios here but so far. There may be more scenarios coming up. And I have to fix this typo here. Commander with 2 M's. This is a prototype, of course. And this is what you will get with Tactical Commander. The Kickstarter campaign begins on the 25th of November. And this is a game by Trafalgar Editions, so I will include the link to Trafalgar Editions' website in case you want to get more information. And that is this unboxing for Tactical Commander. And this is Stuka Joe, signing off for now. Thanks for watching.